Sometimes 2D platformer games can throw us off, but in the end, they actually can surprise us. Many like myself might even skip over it or ignore them because of how dated and boring they can seem to be sometimes. Now the game I'm talking about today was one of these type of games for me, and I almost skipped out on it and missed out on a viciously charming Souls-like RPG experience. Welcome to another brief review. Today we will discuss one of the most brutally fun games I've played in this genre so far. This is Salt and Sanctuary. To start, I think it'd be best to explain to you what exactly Salt and Sanctuary is. Some say it's a Dark Souls ripoff, but actually it's much more than just that. It's a 2D platformer RPG that follows the Soul genre formula to the T, yes, but it's also a game that was only made by a two-person indie dev team named SKA Studios or SKA Studios. I do not know how to pronounce it. Now this was released March 15th on Xbox One, PS4, PC, and now it's actually available on the Switch as well, which is actually perfect for a game like this. Now this game does have a strange name, Salt and Sanctuary. Well, there's a reason behind the name. Salt is actually the currency, or I guess you can call it souls, that enemy drops when you defeat them, and that's actually what you'll lose upon death. Now Sanctuary is something we'll talk a bit on later. It's no secret that this game is very similar to Souls. The dev team is actually very open about the heavy Dark Souls inspiration, and to say they did it justice would be an understatement. It isn't just a Souls game, however. It also uses many mechanics you see in recent platformers, so it mixes the best of both worlds together, and it was brilliantly done. But before anything else, let's go ahead and jump into the start of the game, which actually would be the character creation. This isn't a deep character creation system. Keep in mind this entire game was created by two people, including the artwork, gameplay, and everything in between. But that being said, it's still a decent way to make your character feel like he's you. Now I'm actually impressed with the amount of hairstyles and colors they implemented here. You also get to choose where your origins come from. Now this will change your skin color, which I think is a nice little touch. Now the first thing you'll notice is the game is visually different. It looks kind of lazy, but it's not. It's all hand drawn. Everything in this game is hand drawn, and everything just really kind of looks great. You get used to the visuals here. Then you also have the ability to choose the class you want to start out with. This will affect what items you start the game with and what basic skills you have. For instance, if you choose the Knight, you'll start out with a nice set of armor, shield, and a decent weapon, as well as other items. Now this would be the selection I pick. If you're new to the game and don't want to have to go through hard difficulty, then go ahead and pick the Knight. It's probably the easiest class to go ahead and start the game with. If this seems familiar, it's because it's almost exactly how the Souls character creation system is, and they did a great job on it in my opinion. Before we get into everything that I believe makes this game so damn great, let's go ahead and talk briefly about the story. The entire premise of Salt and Sanctuary is very simple and basic. You crash your boat on an island. From here, you actually soon learn that there was a princess on that same boat, so you're tasked with finding her. Along the way, you'll meet NPCs who will kind of guide you in the right direction, but in this game, you really have to figure out everything yourself, just like the Dark Souls. This game has no hand-holding besides the tutorial. Now, many of these NPCs do have actual dialogue. It's not voiced, but still interesting. It will teach you a little bit about the world and the lore, and certain NPCs will only interact with you if you worship a certain deity, which this game is all about religion in some way. Religion isn't thrown in your face or anything like that. It just has a very religion-based mechanics. It's very interesting, actually. Now, at the beginning, you'll meet an old man, and he'll ask which deity you want to worship. Now, of course, at the beginning, you're not going to know much about any of these, but throughout the game, you'll gain items, and you go in and read the item descriptions to learn more about the world, the enemies, the bosses, and everything else in between. There's some really interesting secrets to be discovered here, but the story here isn't important, not at all compared to the combat. Combat in Salt and Sanctuary may seem simple on the surface, but underneath all the 2D hindrances, it's a well-crafted, well-balanced, satisfyingly fun addition to the game, and again, it's similar to Dark Souls. Every weapon type, in fact, has its own combos by mixing light and heavy attacks together, and there's a shitload of weapon types to choose from. We're gonna discuss the weapon types in a minute. Now, besides combos, you have a dodge, a block, a parry, which yes, parries can stun enemies, leaving them open to a critical strike. You also have spells of different varieties, which can be learned from the corresponding NPCs. There's also throwable items, such as throwing knives, Molotovs, and much, much more. The combat in this game can be very challenging and rewarding, especially regarding the many bosses in the game. One of the most important factors in 2D action games are the controls when it comes to movement and combat, and it's done very well here. They have a decent tutorial in the way of leaving notes that you find while adventuring in the first zone, just like every Dark Souls game. I'm getting tired of saying that, as I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing it. Now this really makes it easy to pick up and play, even for players who aren't really into the 2D aspect of the game. Before we get into the best part of this game, the exploration, I want to talk weapon type. There's many weapons to choose from, from, some basic, others not so much. Your basic weapons include such as swords, daggers, axes, scythes, hammers, shields, bows, whips, staffs, war pikes, and some I'm definitely forgetting right now. There are many different weapons of each class, each looking differently visually from another, but that's not where it stops, no. You have more unique weapon types rather than just your basic ones, such as one turning a regular sword into a sword whip, which is actually one of my favorites. Now you can do this with every weapon. Each type has a set number of transformations you can do. Most of these require special item drops from bosses or mini boss enemies, as well as costing a amber idol, which is an item that's kind of hard to come by in the start of the game. Actually, amber idols are one of the items you can choose to be gifted towards you in the start of the game. And it's not just the weapon types. You can do this with every armor type too, and there's a lot of different armors, and they can all look pretty damn badass. Now I want to show you a couple of my most used weapons. First, you have the scissored blade, and it actually works just as the name entails. Your basic light attacks are just a simple swing, however your heavy attacks actually use the scissor part of the blade. Then you have the flint and steel. This is a sword type that also acts as a black powder revolver, and it's very entertaining and powerful to use. There's so much more beyond just these few, but it would take up the entire video to just show you my favorites, so let's go ahead and move on. Now there's also the sanctuary aspect of the game. Sanctuaries are safe zones where you can go to rest, level up, craft, upgrade items. It's basically your main hub, and you'll do almost everything that you need to progress your character right here in the safe zone. There's so much more to this game. The boss designs are excellent, the visuals and music is so well done and on point, though it can look a bit gray at times, but it's also supposed to resemble a dark fantasy world, so it makes sense. Progression is also addicting and simple, and it's actually very easy to get into a good gameplay rhythm. Most surprisingly, however, is how much location variety and content in total they have placed into this game. I know at this point I am repeating myself, but damn, only 2 people created this damn near masterpiece in my opinion. That's incredible. Now the best part and experience of this game is hands down the well thought out exploration. In the start of the game, if you're exploring, you'll see many areas that you can't reach. Well, as you fight through the bosses and progress throughout the game, you'll unlock special talents. I won't spoil them all here, but one of these is the ability to reverse gravity by activating these certain pillars you'll see throughout the game. This truly makes this game fun and actually challenging to explore. In fact, I would say exploring is the key to success in this game. You'll find a great number of shortcuts, all of which are very useful and well placed. Hidden walls that are activated by standing by them and interacting with it, they'll open up and there's all kinds of treasure to be found there, and secret areas too. Now there's so much more to the exploration here. I wish I could talk about it all day long, but this video is already way too long. Now if you're interested in learning more about this, let me know and I may do another video going more in depth on it. If you do want to buy this game, which I would recommend if anything I've said interests you, but if you do actually want this game, it's usually very cheap. I bought mine for 15 bucks. That was 3 years ago, so I'm sure you can find it $5, $7. It's very easy to obtain, and actually, as we discussed, it's on a lot of different platforms. It's on Steam, the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Store. It's almost everywhere at this point. I would be surprised if it didn't end up on mobile eventually. To sum it all up, Salt and Sanctuary has convinced me 2D games are more than they actually appear to be, and it's opened my eyes a bit. Now, don't get me wrong, I've always liked classic 2D games, but admittedly, I wasn't into them like I was into other games such as Dark Souls, Skyrim, or any other game I was really into. But my mind has officially been changed, and I hope I've done the same for you. Of course, this game won't be a game for everyone, but I do believe there are some, or a lot of you, who would actually enjoy the hell out of this game. I don't usually ask you guys to share my videos, but if you did enjoy this one, please consider sharing it wherever you please. It's sad when indie games that deserve more attention don't get realized for what they really are, and I want to shine a light on this one. Don't get me wrong, in no way was this game a failure. Just about everyone who has played it loved it completely, including myself. It even released on the Nintendo Switch, which speaks loudly of how good the game is, and they actually may be making a sequel. This video was a lot longer than I like my brief reviews to be, but I really wanted to give this game the credit it deserved, and I believe I've done that. Let me know in the comments below if you think this game is actually interesting and if you're gonna try it out. It is very cheap. It is really cheap and definitely worth it. I've put hundreds of hours, which is probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but it was definitely over 100 hours of gameplay, and I didn't even even finish it completely. There's some bosses I still haven't killed yet. If you really like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget I have a Zaster link down below. If you enjoyed this video that much, go ahead and click that link. That will help my channel out a bit, so I can work towards purchasing new equipment to get videos out faster and at better quality, because my computer crashes 10 times a day every time I'm trying to edit a video. Now, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
I got broads in Atlanta, just to lean the family. Credit cards and the scammers, hitting the licks in the van.